let's take a few of the traditional methods and a few of the modern methods, and I'll just go through them to explain what exactly happens. Now, this is again the one of the roles of HR to pick up the methods of appraisal. So आपने steps समझ लिए कि कैसे process होता है. There is a prerequisite, the goal setting, the planning part, then execution, and then assessment. Now, when you are doing that planning and assessment, what is the format? What is the method that you are going to use? You have made a certain performance standards, but what is it that the form or the process that which you are going to evaluate? Every organization will have a different kind of system. It is not necessarily that it is black and white कि अगर आपने ranking method उठाया है तो सिर्फ ranking ही करेंगे. You can always have a mix and match of various methods. So it could be, we will just go through them one by one to have an understanding regarding the system. But when an organization is implementing these systems, they can have a mix and match of the traditional methods. They can even have a mix and match of traditional and modern methods as well. First common method and the most simplest method is a checklist method. Checklist method is typically you have a checklist, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So let's say for a person who is working at a certain level, does he meet the performance standard for communication? Yes, no. Does he complete his targets on time? Yes, no. Is the person punctual? Yes, no. Does the person dress properly? Yes, no. That's it. So the moment the more yeses, that means this person is good. Or the person who doesn't have more number of yeses, more number of no's are there, that means he needs some kind of counseling or warning or whatever, right? Simplest method of assessing somebody's performance. Second would be your graphic rating scales. Now, rating is something same, like when you are rating your employees with a set of traits. That let's say traits could be specific to the position they are handling or the work they are doing. So a manager will just look at those traits: leadership skills, communication skills, ability to deliver the results on time, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. According to that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5's definition, the person will just be kind of marked on those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 ka meaning ye, 2 ka meaning ye, 3 ka meaning wo, and so on. Then next is essay evaluation. Essay evaluation, as the name suggests, that you write a whole essay about yourself. If it is a self-appraisal, like writing of self could be an essay form. Then when it goes to the manager, it could be again another essay, that how the manager perceives the performance of an employee. So what is the negative thing out is that it is very difficult to compare two essays because there is no objectivities. Numbers you can still compare. इसको 3 दिया है, उसको 4 देना है, 5 देना है, and all that. But somebody has written something, let's say that the target was 100%, and a person who is a skilled writer may say that in spite of all odds, I could achieve 90%. That is the similar when इसका मतलब क्या निकला कि 10% नहीं किया. हो सकता है कोई सीधा साधा एम्प्लॉय हो, वो बेचारा कह सकता है it was very difficult to achieve 100%, I have only achieved 90%, or I have not been able to achieve 10%, I lagged behind. In all these three statements, you will find the meaning is the same, that the 100% target has not been achieved, only 90% has been achieved. But the moment you use certain words, it makes it sound as if somebody is a big winner, and it already makes somebody a loser. Because I could not do 10% because of various difficulties faced by me. And the person who is saying, in spite of all odds, I could achieve 90%. So that is what a skilled writer can paint a better picture. But then, as I said, it is a mix and match of various methodology. Critical incident technique is a very, I would say, elaborate sort of technique. As the name suggests, that whatever job a person is doing, what is the most critical thing in that job? So in that critical job aspect of the job, what is that critical incident that you need to note and keep it as a performance standard? This incident technique can work when there is direct observation possible, and the supervisor will be keeping a record that, okay, this is my critical thing in that particular job, and this person is doing this. Yes, no, whether he is doing it properly or not. This is how this critical incident technique works. But as you can yourself understand, it becomes a very tedious task. It becomes a very lengthy and time consuming kind of thing. And you have to be always, the supervisor always has to keep noting down everyday sort of activities to use this particular performance method evaluation methodology, right? Critical incident technique. Chef will have a critical duty, which is maintaining adequate inventory of pizza dough. बहुत जरूरी है पिज्जा शेफ के लिए. अगर इन्वेंट्री नहीं होगी, ऑर्डर आता है तो वो पता चले 2 दिन से वो उसको आटा गूंदने में लग गए और 2 घंटे और फिर उसके बाद 4 घंटे उसको बनाने में लग गए. तो एक प्रॉपर इन्वेंट्री होना is a very crucial and critical part of his job. And it is not that it is just making a pizza dough, but then look at the specification. It is so critical, but otherwise the whole pizza thing might get gadbad. The output, the final product may not be the kind of standard which the company wants to maintain. So all these small things, 12 to 14 ounces each, 2 minutes before the blah blah blah, 5 hours, तो ये सारी चीजें उसने नोट करेगा ना उसका सुपरवाइजर कि ये करता है कि नहीं करता है. Then we can say that okay, it is satisfactory or it was excellent. Improvement in that critical incident technique, they started putting some ratings to the kind of behavior around that critical incident. So behaviorally anchored rating scale was formed. It is also commonly called BARS, which is Smith and Kendall are the two people who developed the behavioral anchored rating scale. It uses critical incidents. So you have to have the critical incidents in place and to anchor statements on a scale. Now, what is anchor? I think all of you know anchor क्या होता है? लंगर, जहाज लंगर डालता है, so that the ship stays there, right? It's a heavy iron thing and it is put in under the water, and so that the ship is right there and it doesn't flow away with the flow of water, ship or boat or whatever. So typically, if you say behaviorally anchored rating scale, so a behavior is put across a rating, ताकि वो रेटिंग को उन्होंने वहां पे टिका दिया कि ऐसे बिहेवियर होगा तो ये रेटिंग मिलेगी, उसको एंकर कर दिया उसके साथ उस बिहेवियर को, राइट? टू गिव यू एन एग्जांपल, इफ यू कैन ऑल सी द फॉर्म, एंकर सीन टॉकिंग, एंड इस बिहेवियर एंकर की रेटिंग क्या होगी? either 1 or 2. That has been left to the supervisor to mark that salesman on. So if we see a number of times the person is doing this, so definitely his rating is going to be somewhere 1 or 2, right? Okay. Thing, ranking, that is how we evaluate your performance in schools and colleges. He is the first rank holder, second rank holder, third rank holder, so on and so forth. So let's say there is a sales team in organization. The person who achieves all the targets as per the expectation or exceeds the target, he is the number 1 salesman, so on and so forth. There could be another method of alternative rankings as well, because let's say if there's a large number of people, 20, 25 or whatever, so then how do you do that? So, and how do you remember also? So for that, you can pick the top employee first and then the bottom one. As I said, you can always pick up, mix and match the various methodologies. It is not a hard and fast kind of rule. So this could be a sample format. The highest ranking employee, you write the name here in top number 1. And let's say you have only 10 employees. So you write the name of the lowest 10th number, जो बिल्कुल निखिद है, उसका कुछ सोता रहता है जो. Then you say, okay, this person is number 2. So who's the second last, so on and so forth, and you can fill up this ranking kind of scale, right? Coming to the next one is a paired comparison. So you have let's say 5-6 employees with you. So you say, okay, let me compare A with other 4 of them, and you will pick up one trait, let's say communication. So A की communication कैसी है vis-a-vis the other 4? Is he good, better than B? Is he better than C? Is he better than D? Is he better than E? So depending on that, you just make a paired comparison. So that means this will be looking something of this sort. This is what A is being compared with B, C, and D and E, and the trait which is we are comparing here is quality of work. So let's say A is better than B, so B के सामने प्लस लग गया. Similarly, A is better than C, तो C पे प्लस लग गया, C के नीचे. A is less than what D does and A is less than what E does, right? तो वहाँ माइनस हो गया. So similarly, we'll compare B with others, C with others, D with others, and E with others. And then ultimately we'll see किसके कॉलम में सबसे ज्यादा प्लसेस आए हैं, and that person, Maria, ranks highest here, or the employee B will be the highest in the quality of work. मतलब error free work सबसे ज्यादा कौन देता है? Here in this case, employee B. So similarly, we'll pick up, let's say the next trait, it could be creativity, and again we'll do the same exercise. So आए हम forced choice पे. Forced choice method क्या होता है कि graphic rating scales आपकी हैं. I mean, remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have a rating scale and you have a definition of that one. 1 might be not satisfactory, 2 might be satisfactory, 3 might be average, 4 might be very good, and 5 might be exceptional. Or it could be 1 may be somehow doing it, rarely doing it, 2 might be, so there is some meaning attached to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, or 1 to 10, any kind of scale could be used. And that graphic rating scale is basically uh, given to the supervisor where they are marking their subordinates. So anybody can have any kind of say in it. As an appraiser, as I said, I could be a lenient appraiser, and for me, everybody is good. सबको अच्छे नंबर दे दो. सारी कोई बात नहीं, गलतियां तो करता ही रहता है इंसान. I could have that kind of approach in life. Or there could be another assessor, there could be another manager who thinks that I am perfect and others also need to learn from me and they should also be perfect. So सब बेकार है. तो किसी को अच्छे नंबर मिलने का मतलब है ही नहीं, हैसियत ही नहीं है. 3, 3, 4, 4 बहुत ज्यादा है. 2 मिलना चाहिए. That kind of attitude also people have. Now this creates a problem. As I was telling you in my days of service, we used to go back with the forms saying, sir, this is not allowed. You cannot rate everybody exceptional, or you cannot rate everybody below than average in your department. So what happens is this is a system which was, I think, started by companies like General Motors and Ford Motors in US, that they said, okay, we will give a certain percentage, forced percentage to the appraiser, that in your department, you cannot rate 10 to 20% more than your of the total population, more than 5 or more than 4, or just the exceptional rating is, let's say, assuming it is a 5-point scale. So only 10 to 20%, it will be very specific, maybe 15%, maybe 20%, maybe 10%, depending on the company's norms. Let's assume 20%. So no, you cannot give exceptional rating to more than 20% people of your department. So that means if in your department there are 10 people, you will give 5 rating, exceptional rating, to only 2 of them. You cannot give it to third even if he is the best. But then choose between those 3 people who are the deserving 5 and reserve your 5 for only 2. Similarly, you are also supposed to give 20% rating, which is less than 2 and less than 2. So 1 and 2 also has to be given to any 2 of the people in your department, 20%. I mean, even if there are kind of, 4 people who are totally useless, but you reserve your rating to 2 people, and the rest 60%, 20%, 20%, and that 60% in between, वो जो जनता स्कोर है 4 का और 3 का, आप उसमें distribute करोगे. So this is what forced thing on the whole organization to keep a certain balance. So these are employees are rated on a pre-existing distribution of predetermined categories. The predetermined distribution must be followed regardless of how well the employees performed. Supervisor with all exceptional subordinates will be forced to rate somebody poorly. A supervisor with mediocre subordinates must rate someone highly as well. See, this is also one of the negatives of this particular forced distribution. Why? Because let's say I have all mediocre employees, but because I have to rate somebody exceptional, that 20%, so I zabardasti kind of give people that 20% of the thing, right? These were the few of the typically used traditional methods of appraising. Now, as I said, there could be mixture of things as well. Now look at this format. Can you see that? So what is the mixture? 2 of 3 methods which are being used. What do you think it is? Another example. Now this is something, again, a combination of bars, behaviorally anchored rating scale. Why? Because each rating has been described, and this is the competency which is required. If it is very coming to all clear traditional methods. Now we are going to touch upon few of the modern methods. Modern, as the name goes, management by objective. This was again innovated by McGregor, Drucker, and Odeon. These are the management consultants or management gurus. So they came up with this concept somewhere in 1940s. Again, Ford Motors was the one, as they started using this concept. And Peter F. Drucker, he published a book actually, and that book became a instant hit all across the globe. And that is how this MBA approach is being till date used. Everything starts with an objective. So slowly that thing got kind of, little diluted by people merging other kind of things as well in it, other methodologies also in it. But the essence remains that you have to have a goal. The whole system is based on the fact that you have to start with some kind of planning, some kind of roadmap, some kind of goal which you would want to achieve, and then work towards it, right? So MBO became and is a very still rampantly used system to evaluate performance. And MBO, as it said, management by objectives. It helps the manager subordinates plan, organize, control, because you have a certain benchmark, no, that this is what you're going to achieve. 100 आपने 120 units बनाने हैं. अब 100 units 20 units बनाए 3 months में कि नहीं बनाए. I am giving them a smart goal. So 120 units were made in that one quarter, yes or no, so I can control accordingly as a manager. Communicate and debate. क्यों नहीं बने? बने तो बहुत अच्छी बात है. इसका मतलब आप 120 आपने 3 months की जगह 2.5 months में finish कर लिए. So next month का target is 140 instead of 120. So I can debate upon it as a manager and with my subordinates. We both can have a discussion whether it is possible or not. So it becomes a very pragmatic and a dynamic kind of methodology for performance appraisal. Now, fall is an English word which means problem. First of all, it needs everything to be broken down into numbers. Numbers, numbers, and numbers. So even your human emotions, your human experiences, that developmental aspect, that learning aspect, that too has to be converted into numbers. Training program देना है, जरूरत है. But फिर हो जाता है कि हर employee को at least साल में 2 training program देने हैं. I am okay. I don't think I need that sort of training program, but my boss says I have to give you 2 training inputs. That is what the form says. So आपको जाना पड़ेगा. So my those 2 days, 5 days, whatever, I feel because it was not wanted by me, but I was nominated there. तो क्या feeling आ जाती है कि मेरा time waste हो रहा है. So I'm not learning anything, but still because my boss has to make that numbers पे tick मारना है because he is also being evaluated whether he promoted his learning within his department or not. So वो कितने programs में nominate करा अपने juniors को. My boss's boss is going to evaluate him in that target. So it is very kind of tedious there that everything has to be linked with objectives, and at times it can create confusion. Too much paperwork. Everything needs to be documented. From what you are planning, what you are aiming, it needs to be documented. It is forced into jobs where settings objective is difficult. As I was saying, even human emotions need to be objectified. Numbers hone chahiye. Rewards may not be tied to results. Yes, you can have incentives and rewards over your productivity, but what about communication skills? What about these learning kind of initiatives? What about improvement of the processes? So you cannot have some kind of monetary rewards or something with everything which you improve or show an increase or whatever. So it again becomes difficult for motivating people. ठीक है मैं number बढ़ा तो रहा हूँ पर मैं करूँ क्या इसका? So that sort of a thing can be a difficult pitfall or one of the pitfalls when you are implementing management by objectives. There may be too much emphasis on short term. Superiors may not be trained in MBO process. Original objectives are never modified. And this is also one thing that in the beginning of year, when you have these targets assigned, वो पत्थर पे लकीर बन जाते हैं. That this is what the person is supposed to do by end of that particular time period, which they have discussed. They cannot change it. They can modify it for the next year, but in that year, they cannot change it. That is one of the pitfalls again. It is used as a rigid control device that intimidates rather than motivates. So it is one of the robust system. If used properly, it really can monitor and improve the organization's effectiveness. Now, coming to the next system, which is 360-degree feedback. What the concept of 360-degree is, that it typically uses, or it is a survey which collects the views of a selection of appraised employees' colleagues, including the manager, peers, and direct reports. It also includes the self-appraisal and at times the external customer feedback too. This method is effective in building participative culture, learning culture, quality culture, and performance culture, because you are getting an overall kind of holistic feedback from all corners. So you cannot say मेरा boss मेरे से चिढ़ता है इसलिए हमेशा ऐसे खराब rating देता है. Yeah, people cannot say that he is a blue-eyed boy of his superior, so that is why he always get good rating. Why? Because all 4 corners may be giving you a similar kind of feedback. So introducing a 360-degree system into culture, not prepared for it, can have a disastrous effect. The organization is not mature enough. If the organization is mature enough, and there is a certain level of trust and there is a certain level of transparency within the employees, then this system can work. This system is very well being utilized in IT companies where there is, as I said, transparency, and also that depends on the culture of the company. If people are ready, people are mature enough to understand, people are willing to participate in it and also improve upon their whatever present status they are on. So typically it is more of a feedback system and not an evaluative system, but it does help in overall assessment and improvement of the performance. That is why it is one of the modern methods of performance evaluation. Balanced scorecard is another method. Now, typically when we are talking of MBO or any other performance method, we are just stuck with the financials or the numbers. We उसने target achieve किया कि नहीं किया, जितना टर्नओवर कहा था, जितना सेल्स कहा था, जितना उसको कॉस्ट बचाने को कहा था, नहीं कहा था, वो किया कि नहीं किया. But in this, there are parameters and perspectives other than that as well, which is whether the customer's perspective was taken care of or not. Customer is happy. So customer could be internal customer for HR department and support services and all that, who are not directly dealing with the market. So customer perspective, their feedback also becomes important. Internal business processes पे क्या काम किया? Learning and growth. What did a person do to make himself more learned, or how did he develop his or her skills? So every year or every whatever the tenure of that assessment period is, the employee needs to make an effort to learn something to make himself grow. Similarly, a manager will also be kind of taking care that in his team people are doing that. What is it that he's supporting it or not? So all these perspectives are an important part of your balanced scorecard. This was found by Kaplan and Norton. These are two people, Australian people. And all four perspectives are balanced. You cannot just do good in financial and forget learning and development. You cannot just be making customers happy where your financials might sink, or you cannot just kind of do away or take shortcuts in the business processes to improve your financial growth and stuff like that. So all four perspectives have to be balanced. Assessment center is not a physical center. It is a battery of tests, right? And where people are kind of assessed on various exercises, simulations, role plays and stuff. And then based on that, they are promoted or they are kind of given a reward or incentive, whatever is next, right? Now we talk of potential appraisal. When we talk of review, we are basically looking at the past data and we are doing a performance appraisal. जो performance हो गई, उसका review कर रहे हैं. But when we talk of potential, that means we are relating it to future, whether the person has the potential to perform further or not. So this is what performance appraisal is all about. Potential appraisal is all about, and it is mostly related to your competencies. Let me know if you have any queries. Stay tuned for more content.